Hi everyone, and welcome to Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. Well, as you can see, today we have a different kind of video. I know I say this often, but this time the video is going to be different actually, because we're gonna talk about how you're supposed to listen to music, to appreciate listening to music. Because today there are a lot of mistakes, a lot of wrong approaches in listening to music, in giving value to what you are listening, the way you receive this, giving value to the artist who produced that music for you and for everyone else. So let's try to understand the correct way, at least, let's say in my opinion, through two typologies, main typologies, of tips and indications. We will see first 6 main points through a philosophical approach to listening music, and 9 main points through the methodology to actually do this in the correct way.
You ready? Let's dive in.
Listening to music, the art of listening to music. First of all, as I said, we're going to go through 6 main points regarding the philosophy of how you're supposed to listen to music. Okay, so point number 1. Live music. Yes, it is important, it is fundamental that you go to listen to live concerts, to live music jigs, jazz, classical, rock. I would say all of these typologies, because obviously there are different environments. If you go to listen to a big classical music concert, the environment is huge, lots of instruments, the sound waves and the stage are huge, are immense, and that's a completely different typology of experience. And we have to know that as a reference, because your experience, your ears, will be the reference then for what is reproduced music, recorded music. Hence our endless search for hi-fi, high fidelity music. So certainly experiment with big hall concerts, but also small environments like jazz, chamber music. That is fundamental, because with just a few types of instruments, you will really hear the difference, the impact on your ear, on your body, of a sound wave, of the timbre of the instruments, how they should properly sound, instead of a CD, an LP, or whatever it is, because obviously these are always going to be reproductions of reality. So live music, absolutely, that's the starting point. Okay, so point number 2, hi-fi music. As I said a few seconds ago, high fidelity. What am I talking about? Well, as you know, the whole point of this channel is trying to reproduce music in the most faithful way, in reference to true sound, to what is music in reality. That's why we have discussed about live music. So in this point, we're talking about hi-fi music, which means the best possible types of music. Hence, forget about streaming, forget about MP3s, forget about compressed music. We must turn back to what is the normal, true, faithful recordings, the pleasure of listening something that is not compressed. Plus, I would say analog typologies of reproduction of hi-fi music is much better. Also because, since we're talking about the philosophy of listening and afterwards the methodology, it is important to remember that in most cases, digital reproduction of music does create fatigue, listening fatigue, which instead does not happen in analog. Well, at least if the recording is decent, it does not happen in an analog environment. So that's an excellent point to follow as well. So let's go ahead. Point number 3, tangible music. Yes, why do I think that that's an important part of the philosophy of correct listening? Because tangible music brings a contact with the music. You have a medium in your hand. You pay respect to that because you're also spending more money than a download, than an MP3, than something ripped off from a CD of a friend or downloaded from the internet or whatsoever. Have something in your hands. You can touch it. You can read the liner notes. It enhances your listening experience. You will have somehow a more, I would say, almost a physical continuity together with the music, because it is important also the ritual to take out something from its box and putting it in its piece of gear to reproduce music. These are paramount aspects. That is why also, because vinyl is coming back and cassettes and on. We'll go back then to all the digital physical media. I'm sure about that, because streaming or everything that goes as a file, it's not tangible. It afterwards it does not seem to be real almost. It's good to just to put it in your phone and go out and do things, but absolutely this is not the correct way to listen to music. Point number 4, focused music. What do I mean? Well, a typical approach, this is one of the most important points. A typical approach is to put perhaps even a physical media or your earbuds, your headphones, whatever. Put music, a CD, whatever you have in your house, and then do something else. Work out, clean the house, try to surf on the web. Perhaps even someone is reading books or something else. When you're listening, you have to listen to music. You do not go around and do something else. Then it's just the background. You're not listening. It's just something to fill up the silence in the air, which sometimes is I understand that. It's annoying. It's overcoming. I mean, you need a voice. That's why a lot of people turn on television and do something else. It's just to have also some company. But we have to sometimes completely separate these two facts, like casual listening and to focus listening. Try to sit down and focus on what you are listening to. That's paramount importance. Okay, so point number 5, album music. One of the worst things, and I'm talking because I went through this is my experience, you can do to music is to pick up a song, put a playlist someone gave you or you found on the web or whatever, or even worse, pick up a best of, the greatest hits of someone. Oh my God. You're going to ruin completely that author. You're never going to go ahead and discover his other work. You're never going to learn about the album concept, because there is a concept in the album from song number 1 to the last song, especially in the past. Now I'm not so sure about that actually, but let's say there are still concepts behind important albums, great music. So it's fundamental to pick up an album and not only focus on that single concept that the artist wanted to communicate, but also go through the album, listen to all the songs. If you have time, obviously, have the complete experience, not just picking up one song here, 2 songs there, I'm doing something else. No, as I said, focus and use and appreciate an entire experience of a single album. Here comes our last point number 6, regarding the philosophy of listening to music. And I would call this point music taste. Yes, because if we start to follow these aspects, which I'm sure most of you already do, but I think it's useful to do this type of video, even for newbies who are trying to get close to music, to physical music, and understand what is an album, what the artist meant. So as I was saying, it is important to expand our music taste. And if we start listening to things in the correct way, we will pay attention to the instruments, to the timbre, to the dynamics, to even what the artist is saying in his liner notes, or simply just listen to all the different types of music in a peaceful, relaxed, but also focused, concentrated way will expand, surely, our taste. We will start to appreciate things that before were not appreciated. A typical approach to music is that of, at least in the beginning, I think of most of us when we started to listen to music, is catchy music, is fun music, it's rhythm, it's I want to find on the radio like Jerry Maguire. Remember that scene where he's looking for that song? Oh yes, there I find it. Yeah, I'm driving fast, cool. I love things. I love life. I love what I'm doing. Tonight I'm seeing my girlfriend. I'm eating out. That's fine. That's okay. But that's not listening to music. You know what I mean? So it's important, absolutely, to try to expand our knowledge, our taste. Try not only to look for those catchy rhythms, those catchy songs, which are useful for other things, but also try to appreciate jazz. That's what happened to me, for example. After consuming a lot of pop music, you start to appreciate progressive rock. You start to appreciate different kinds of solutions and funky, and going upwards to jazz, all the way up to free jazz, if you can tolerate that. Sometimes I can't either. And then also pass to the next step, which is classical music, and appreciate what that is. I'm very critical with myself, and I think that I've reached chamber music is my top, because I like to listen to understand about the different, hear the different instruments. Which does not happen when in a symphonic, for example, typology of concerts of music, which is it's a whole mass of sound. But obviously, I love classical music. I do listen to a lot of it, but not as much as a true passionate of classical music does. But the point is to expand, to experiment, not just because someone gave you something, or just follow the top 10 of the month. But also start to experiment, to find our own albums, to find our own music, which will happen automatically as soon as you start to educate your ear, I would say. So now we can pass to our second group. Actually, we'll pass more to a practical approach, the methodology, through our 9 main points. So, point number 1, take your time. All these suggestions are going to appear rather banal, very simple, obvious to you, but I think it's worth saying them. It's worth repeating them. So number 1, take your time. I mean, close your cell phone. Be sure you have time to listen to an album or to the session you decided to do, like 4, 5 songs, and not doing anything else, as we said, but knowing that you have some time for yourself and to relax. I think that listening to music is a very individual and solitary type of passion, of pleasure. Although people do listen together, but I think that's a completely different approach. Listening to music, it's very intimate. So it depends by you, obviously, if you like to do it with someone else, maybe with your girlfriend, with your wife, or with your husband, or whatever, or a group of friends. But that's always, I think it's a different approach. It's not when you're listening music by your own, which it's even more concentrating when you do that with your headphones, because you're also isolated completely by the environment. Speaking of environment, point number 2, you need a comfortable environment. A nice couch, a nice rug, a nice chair. You have to be comfy in order to detach your body almost from the rest, the surrounding, and focus on music. Obviously, point number 3, you're going to need a silent environment. It's very important not to have someone breaking up, I don't know, the sidewalk and fixing a water plumb tube, or someone doing the dishwasher, or the baby crying. I mean, it's better to listen to less, but listen well, high quality. So search for a good moment in which you have a silent environment, possibly as much as possible. Point number 4, absorbing environment. Here we're going to get a little more technical. Try to have an environment where you're listening which is capable of absorbing music, the sound waves. Otherwise, the sound's going to be harsh. If you have, for example, some curtains drawn, I mean, that will already somehow dampen the reflections of music. Also, if you try to set up your system where you have a lot of books, that's an excellent sound absorber. A good tip is always to have a rug in front of your loudspeakers, which absorbs the first burst of sound. That is very, very important, I'd say, even more than the other ones, to have a rug right in front of the loudspeakers. And if you want, obviously you can have sound traps or foams or egg carts on your wall, whatever. Don't put too much phone absorbent material, because otherwise it's gonna sound different. It's gonna sound unreal, like a studio environment. It's good because you have to record in that case, but it's not good for listening. You do need some reverberation, a little bit, not too much. Point number 5, body position. So it's very important that you put yourself in the exact middle of your loudspeakers. You have to be at the center, otherwise you're not going to benefit of the stereo effect. And the general rule is to have the tweeters more or less at the same height of your ears or your eyes, more or less. That's also important. And obviously, if you're using your headphones instead, find a nice relaxed area, and it doesn't matter where you are. It's just important that it's comfy at that point. Speaking of this, we can pass to our 6th point, and which regards loudspeaker position. This is very important. This is a very particular aspect that some of you may overlook. It is important that the loudspeakers have the same distance, the left speaker and the right speaker, from yourself. I mean, you really have to be at the same distance. Plus, the loudspeakers have to be tilted in the identical way. I mean, if you're using an open typology of setup where the loudspeakers face a little bit outwards, they both have to have the same angle. Similarly, if they're facing exactly you, they have to be perfectly symmetrical. Or if they're in a closed layout, it has to be, again, with the same angle. This is very important to have a correct reproduction and the maximum enhancement of your sound system. Obviously, this brings us to our 7th point, quality system. It goes by itself that you must try to achieve by put your little hands on something that is a high quality or a decent quality equipment. The source, the amplifier, and the loudspeakers. That's part of the fun, I think, to build up slowly your system. It took years for me to build my own. Started from a piece of crapola and building up all the way to audiophile grade typology or studio typology of equipment. One piece at a time, and you'll see that the level, the quality, the realism, the fidelity is highly rewarding, and that will truly bring you much upwards in the correct listening of the music, reproduced music. Tip number 8 is absolutely fundamental, I think, which is play it loud. Yes, music is loud. Music is not a weak signal. It's not you cannot listen to music very quietly, very nice and soft. I mean, you can do that, but that's usually something as a background. But when you listen to music, true instruments are very high or very loud. So it's important to crank up that knob. Don't keep your knob all the way down in the left corner, but bring it up, bring it up. You have to listen to music loud to appreciate also certain details, nuances, the timbre of the instruments. Well, our last tip, tip number 9, obviously, is to follow our channel, Anna Dialogue. Yes, because that's where you're going to find all the rest of the tips for a correct reproduction, for enjoying your music and listening correctly. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked this video.
Make sure you subscribe here and hope to see you soon. Bye! I forgot to mention, this can help. Bye, guys.